Hello, everyone. I know that you have the answers, and I guess that's my fault. This was from last year, and the announcement came without me realizing that it. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to start here with chapter 13 and a couple of different things. This chapter came through in announcements from last year, and I didn't realize that it was on automatic post. So my word of advice is to make sure you try to do this and then just come back and check your answers. So let's talk about a couple of different things. We're going to meet again on Monday, but what we're looking at here is the CPT book. A couple of different things with the CPT book that you as medical assistants will see. This is how physicians get their payment. Keep in mind, for physicians to get their payment, not hospitals. So you will see the CPT book, current procedural terminology book, quite often in doctor's offices. It is also used for outpatient. So for a doctor who wants to bill an ER visit, or a doctor that wants to see a patient in the hospital, that daily visit. So that is one thing that you will see as you are working as an MA. So a few things here. We also have two levels, which is called your HCPCS. Modifiers are going to be huge. These are a 2-digit number, and they are at the end of a CPT code. So with the CPT code, it's 5 digits. So it starts with the number. And the main thing, okay, you may want to take notes here. So at the beginning of a CPT book, and I will pull up the not the virtual one, but the one in the system here that you can use. Hi, students. A couple of different things I just want to go over on CPT. We will meet for Zoom on next Monday, but keep in mind, I want you to have an understanding, so I hope everybody listens to this lecture because it will make things much easier for you for the exam. So the biggest thing as a medical assistant for you to know, once again, you're not going to be a coder, but in lab 201, which is across from Jen's office, I do have CPT books. So I will maybe tell Jen to set them out on the desk there and you guys can borrow them. Or if you don't want to use the CPT book, I will show you the electronic version here in video. So a couple of different things. CPT, current procedural terminology. And I know these answers are posted. Basically what happened was that last year, spring break, we must have completed this unit before spring break, and somehow this announcement just carried over. So my advice to you is to make sure you still do your homework, because if you do not, it's not going to be good for you taking the exam. So let's just go ahead and start off with here with CPT. We have HCPCS. Modifiers is something you'll be using. With modifiers, they are 2 digits and they come after the CPT code. So let's just real quickly here, I'm going to kind of go back and forth. Right here, I'm into the 3M system. Okay, and it's the same logon that you had, NEI001. Password, AHEMA, all caps, pound 19. And we are just going to go to these yellow books. Okay, I'm going to make my screen bigger. I just want to kind of show you the actual CPT book. So with that, you're going to go up here under the 3M coding and reimbursement system. You've already used the ICD-10 book. Now we're going to go to the CPT book. So it's right here. And you can play this video over and over. So as a MA, as a student, the just different things that I'm going to tell you that you will need to know for your certification test. So with that, let's start talking about E&M. They begin with nines. Okay, so E&M services, these are what the physician charges as daily visits, office visits. So I'm going to pull these up, and you see all these CPT numbers. They're 5 digits long. We'll get into modifiers shortly. If you listen to Amanda's video, she does a nice job too, and sometimes it's nice to get two different voices about CPT. I was a CPT coder for many years, so was Amanda. So let's just start here with office other outpatient. So as a medical assistant, if you have a new patient, one thing I want you all to remember, new patient again is 3 years. We talked about this in previous chapters. So if you are working at Grand River, Medical Associates, or wherever you are working, or Great River, sorry about that, it's based on time. This is something new. So if the doctor spent 17 minutes, keep in mind the doctor has to go ahead and document it. Or if the doctor states in their notes that they had straightforward medical decision making or low level medical decision making, you can use these numbers. Now keep in mind, this is how it all comes together. So I'm a new patient. I come to the doctor's office. Let's say you're working in dermatology and the patient's coming in for acne. And they've been struggling a lot with the acne, and the doctor spends about 35 minutes with them explaining different options, different treatment methods, just going over how to do skincare, all that good stuff. So when the doctor states I spent 35 minutes with the patient, it was a low level medical decision making. Okay, I'm not saying you will, but possibly if you had to write down a code, you would put down 99203. All right, now keep in mind, last unit, you worked on diagnosis codes. Diagnosis codes, as a medical assistant, let's just say it would be acne. Okay, so that would be my diagnosis code. And then my office visit would be a 99203. That's new patient. Okay, a couple of different things here, and then we go into established patient. That means that patient has been to dermatology within the past 3 years, so now they're established. Again, we have decision making, low level, straightforward. We go into all these different levels. All right, so I'm going to kind of get out of that for now. We're going to go back to that homework page. So keep in mind a couple of different things. We know that the E&M, which are basically doctor visits, could be at the hospital, could be at the office. These all begin with the 9,000s. The next one is anesthesia, which you probably will not have to deal with. These begin with zeros. Surgery, this is the biggest section of CPT. These begin with 1,000s and end with 6,000. So 69999. Again, these are all 5 numbers. Radiology, nuclear medicine are 7,000 codes. Path and lab are 8,000. And then medicine are 9,000 codes also. But these are beginning 9,000. I think they'll start off at 90, where E&M start off with 99. So the biggest thing that they could ask you on your medical assistant certification test is how many sections are in CPT. You as an MA, you need to know that there's 6. And they'll say anesthesia codes start with what number? You as a medical assistant need to say they start with the number 0. Question could be radiology codes start with what number? You as a medical assistant need to know they start with the number 7,000. So these are different questions that I see, that I have seen on the medical assistant exam. Okay, so let's just look at these. So like I said, E&M 99,202 through 99,499. Anesthesia, 0, they start with 0. And these here are just kind of add on. We have surgery codes that begin with 1000, end at 69990. Surgery code, you could see this as possibly working in dermatology. Again, good example. They take off a mole or they take off a cyst. Then we get into radiology. So if you're working in there and they do an x-ray, that's where you're going to come up with these codes. Path and lab, if they draw blood. Medicine, this would be for your injections. So we're going to have new codes in there for the injection part and for what they injected. Flu shot, it could be the COVID-19. Those are new codes this year. And we will talk about the rest of these shortly. Surgical package, this is what all involves. And you may have to pay attention to this, especially if you are working, once again, in dermatology. Somebody comes in and let's say they excise a mole, but it was pretty deep and they had to put stitches in it. That surgical package is going to be down here probably 10 days. So what they're telling you, if they would come in 2 days after that mole, that's included. Okay, that's a global. So one thing with a global, it is 1 day before surgery, that's preoperative, that they can't charge for. It's included in that surgery code. And then 10 days after. So again, that's a global. These are all the things included in surgical package. So if they do a digital block to take that mole off, that is included in the surgery charge. You cannot charge extra for that. Or writing orders. All right, so if we go down here, we have a couple of different things. I know Amanda talked about bundling and unbundling. Down coding or up coding, she talked about that. So part 2, mix and match question. New code. Okay, what does a new code look like? These are different things that could be on your exam. So a new code is a bullet. A modifier 51 extent or exempt, we will talk about that. So that is going to be circle with a line through it. Add-on code, we'll talk about that. Plus, so these are at the bottom of the CPT book. In the electronic version, these codes here, if I go back to, we already talked about the E&M, correct? Okay, so if I go to the surgery section right here, let's say we're going to go to integumentary system. So if you're working for a dermatologist or even a family practitioner, a lot of these codes you could be using. So here we have the code number. See here I talked about add-on codes and we'll talk about that. So if I look at this legend, we have revise. These are different things. See here it tells us add-on code. It gives us all what we just had on that last assignment. So all I did was hit with legend. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this video up. I am going to do another video for you. So make sure you please stay tuned because I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about modifiers, how to read this code, and how to look up some code.